Okay, the story so far. In the first year of the war, essentially, York was defeated and killed early on. Since then, there have been no battles whatsoever, I think. Both sides have been jockeying for position, a little bit of pursuit, some military operations, but no actual armed conflict. But in the last few campaigns, it's been mainly about building up power bases on the two sides and fucking things up. Fucking things up being, oh look, I don't have enough money to pay, and all the work that I just did got reversed. Or, oh look, I have collected up enough money and stockpiled it so that I don't suffer the effects that the other player's been suffering. And oh shit, the waste point came, and for some reason the Yorkists decided to throw all their money away into the ocean. Anyway, I have what we've ended up with is a remarkably balanced situation where neither side is really getting a lot. Both sides have been building up their power bases, like I said. Now, right now, the Lancastrians are in a position to take things away from the Yorkists and to convert them over to themselves, which is kind of nice because it means influence actions off of commands and whatnot. I'll give them not double value, but they won't have to move as much to generate the influence actions that convert spaces. So, because unlike in a CDG type, in most CDG bubble map type games, what you have is a counter and you spend like a movement point to flip the counter over. Here, you have to remove the counter and then place a favor of your own. So there's a trinary accounting system in place there. For the most part, I felt like I'm blundering around. It's really hard to get a grasp on how to keep your army in the field. However, it's affecting both players, just in different sorts of ways. I had made some major screw-ups with the Lancasters where they caused serious issues to themselves, but the Yorkists were very careful to avoid those same issues and ended up expending a lot of actions that ended up being wasted in the same way. So what the Lancastrians did caused an unpopularity in their area that they had to go around and fix with influence actions again. And the Yorkists, well, like I said, they decided money was worthless and would throw it into the Thames. Anyway, so there we are. Militarily, we've got a situation where both sides have about equal forces. Now, neither player technically knows what they have because I'm playing with the option that things are hidden behind screens, just because I feel like that makes the game a little more interesting for me, especially solitaire. It may not be wise. I don't know, because what I found when I was playing a game that had a serious double blind type situation, which was Battlefleet Mars, and I'm looking for it over here, and I'm just not seeing where I hide them. I think I hide it over there. Yeah, there it is, top there. What it ended up being was neither side knew what the hell neither side would know what the other side had, so you couldn't make reasoned decisions as to whether or not to fall back. And that ends up being a game of rock, paper, scissors in my mind. And I'm worried that this would turn out like, and all the levying campaigns really, of that sort of nature. You do have some indications on the number of lords that are on the board, although in this game that may be less of a signifier than it is in others, because any given lord can be infinitely powerful in terms of having lots of vassals and very large troop forces. Of course, if they have a very large troop force, they're paying a lot for it, so that's painful. But vassals maybe not so much. You'll know how many vassals they have total, but you won't know where they're allocated necessarily. But anyway, the Yorkists are together here with naval support so that on those port spaces that I have control over, I can draw supplies from them more easily. I have quite a bit of capability towards drawing supply for that. I don't have many carts. I'm going to need to build more carts because what few I had got wasted. And then for the Lancasters, well, their forces are split up but coming together. And they're, like I said, in a position where they're threatening some of the Yorkist power base in a way that may pull the Yorkists towards them. We'll see. The usual presentation mishmash of, personal life, game, rants about game, rants about personal life, whatever, all mixed together. I just got another email from the designer. He's being very nice in terms of watching through and catching everything that I'm saying, really. A couple of things that he wanted to clarify. One was with the supply routes. Apparently, there was a tendency to try to solidify support to run your supplies through, and to actually create depots or whatever of goods within friendly territory, and that would be really hard. Outside of it. And yeah, I can see that. You would need at least, local lords or whatever protecting your goods and not raiding them. And I guess that's part of what's represented by the swaying the population. See, I'm looking at, I don't know how I'm looking at it. The other had to do with sieges, which is that there were only like 3 significant sieges or significant lords that underwent sieges, and in general they only had a small retinue. I still feel like something's not being covered by this. Like, okay, granted, there were not major sieges of most of the towns and castles and whatnot. Kingmaker or not. Because that game gives a different portrayal, but I trust the research here far, far more than what was in place back then. And not because the research, mainly because games, I think, have become more serious about not just presenting a game with a subject matter, but also in terms of getting the history right. And certainly this one, I feel that attempt is being made. But here's where I'm objecting with the sieges, is that there's a situation where important lords can be captured without a battle. And honestly, the closest thing to that in this game is something that I already have a problem with, which is I go into exile instead of fighting the battle. Right? So you can decide to go into exile. Now, you could argue that those sieges usually ended up with the Lord in exile anyway. So, okay, maybe, in one way or another. But here's the thing. Exile, as represented in the battles, in the war scenarios, is not the exile I'm talking about, right? And this is where I really get the issue, is that Lord going into exile, he usually would not make it back in the course of the next year or so. And certainly the cases where someone was captured, put in detainment, because at certain points in the war, it was, especially early on, it was not all that attractive to execute your enemies, especially if they surrendered to you. It's one thing. What you had being executed really was people who double-crossed, and betrayed, rather than just taking one side up and then being defeated or surrendering at a siege. So the type of exile I'm seeing in coming out of these sieges would match more the type of exile that I see as kind of the common case of exile, which is that, yeah, you're pretty much out for the battle, but you might, or for this war, but you might be back for the next one. You're not eliminated as an heir. You're not eliminated from the deck of possible lords for the next war. Although I don't even know if that happens, but we'll see. Like, I don't know if any normal. Obviously, some. No. I was going to say, obviously, some lords do change over. Yeah, so like Northumberland, he doesn't have two numbers. He doesn't have a number on him, which means there's only one Northumberland. He should be in more than one of these wars. So if he gets killed, what happens? Do you replace him? You know, I don't know. We'll see in the campaign rolls. It's not like I'm saying I absolutely know. I have not looked at what the scenarios generate. But I don't recall anything about these guys will be removed from the scenario. I think they'll be removed from the game. But then there's kind of the question of, yeah, but would they likely have been replaced, a la Kingmaker? Or would they just disappear? And I guess it depends on the person. In some cases, yes, there is a numbered lord, but that's because historically there was that kind of replacement. Are you really telling me that another Percy wouldn't step up? But his values, we wouldn't know them, right? And he might just be subsumed into, one of the vassal lords, although obviously there's no one up there who would qualify. There's only a Neville up there. But yeah, the two families were related. Of course they were. But my feeling is that in general, this concept of like you would be imprisoned and then sent into exile after the war is over is very, very close to what exile would normally be, which is that, yeah, the Lord is going to have to recoup. Now, it might be possible in a long enough period, but it actually feels to me, I don't remember how the exile works. That may be part of the problem. And here we're just going, way off on a riff, but do we have, yeah, there's an index. I've used it in the others in it. Lord status on calendar 331435. Let's check 331 first, see if that answers my question. Because that I think is most likely. 435. Yeah, this is it's going to be before combat. 442. 435, approach exile. For each lord who chooses exile, first the side loses influence points equal to that influence rating plus 1 per vassal, fine. Then that lord gives up assets to the approaching enemy lords, fine. Lastly, the lord going into exile and that lord's vassals disband. Put an exile marker. So it's going to be a normal disband. They're going to show up in the same amount of time that they would if they retired from the field. That feels really, really wrong. Am I saying that there were no cases where somebody immediately returned from exile? No. I don't know enough. I think there probably were some cases, but I also know of cases where people went into exile and were just not available afterwards for a significant amount of time. And yeah. But with an ongoing war, trying to think, having trouble. But it would cover that case of I've gone into siege. Right, I've gone into a fortified location, and I will, besieged there by a small force, whatever, and just starved out until I either agree to be imprisoned or to exile or something else. Would the turnaround be as fast? Probably not, because with an ongoing war, you would probably keep those lords held captive. Anyway, that's it. Well, I guess it's Wednesday. I'm hoping that I haven't lost a day or something. I've been sick. Last night I started feeling certain things started going wrong. Just a lot of phlegm and everything. And then when I woke up, I feel incredibly weak. And it's hard, it's harder to come up and play, but it's possible. And I feel like I have to push through to get a little bit in there. My throat is bugging me though. Let's draw a couple of cards for this levy. Now you can see I've got a bit of a problem, which is, let's see, it's going to be a 6-turn game, or a 6-card turn this time. Those are going to, I think, come off the map. Well, those are going to move out of there one way or another, right? They're either going to come off the map or they're going to be paid. But right now, the crowding is a problem. Commons. This levy, each Yorkist levy troop action may add up to 2 militia extra from the pool. At least it's only May. I don't particularly want extra militia. We're actually having trouble finding a fight. So when the armies clash, they may be surprised like how weak they are. Parliament's truce, hold to prohibit all approach and intercept for the rest of this campaign. This is a really powerful card. We used it before. We may not use it now because we do have a reasonable sized force in play, but it can save our ass. French troops, add 2 men-at-arms and 2 militia to a Lancastrian lord at a port. There aren't any. This feels almost like it should be a hold card. I don't have my playbook up here. Horny pressures on Parliament. Yorkists lose 1 influence point per vassal they currently have mustered. That's 2. Okay, now comes the, did I screw things up? And the answer is yes, I think. Because Somerset didn't make it down to Buckingham. Oops. Oops. He tried. I didn't realize how important it was. All right, each lord must pay 1 coin per 6 troops. These guys are together. I have enough coin to pay it off. The Yorkists seem to have a better financial setup for whatever reason, even after they threw all their money away. Over here, well, Buckingham's fine. But oh no! Oh, and I didn't have a time, I didn't get a chance to demobilize him except at the levy of the last phase. I couldn't just be like, oh, this is going to be a problem. So you've got these ticking time bombs just waiting for you here. Somehow I don't mind this as much as all that money that I carefully hoarded. Like here, I'm paying the price for not being careful enough. Here, I paid the price for being careful. You have to be somewhere in between, I guess. I don't know. All right. So we're going to hit another pillage. And you can't afford to be careful. It's worse. It's worse. I feel like the Lancasters recovered better from their loss in a way. I don't know. It probably came out about even. Where are we here? Okay. So, yeah, he's going to pillage Nottingham. That will exhaust it. That will create, I don't know what Nottingham is. It's not Coventry, that's for sure. Nottingham's just a little village, by which I mean town. Pillage gets me a provender and a coin. Well, I eat the coin, and the provender will be helpful. What else happens to me? Influenced by double the assets. That'll be 4. Whee! And that I can live with. It's this part that's bad. Mark the stronghold with the enemy favor. So that's towns. Go 2 more towards York. Each stronghold adjacent shifts 1. All right, what's in favor? Leicester, or is it Leicester? Goes Yorkist. That's another town. And Lincoln, which is a city, leaves. Luckily, I wasn't in as connected a place. Nottingham's kind of in the middle of the forest, I guess. And, oh, wait, we got a connection to Derby, too. Derby. All the towns are going Yorkist. So, wherever you move your army, you may create an enemy power base. Another reason not to move. Nah, I mean, the problem is I didn't have my taxes. This was where my money was. And I just didn't pre-calculate enough. I didn't pay enough attention. We've got an interesting dichotomy, though. One player who's very, very uncareful, and one player who is much more careful. And I don't know why. I don't feel like I'm particularly pro-Yorkist. If anything, I'm usually pro-Lancaster, but I am a little pro-white, because white makes right, or something like that. I've told you guys about, I got to play, at one previous time, at another, several lifetimes ago, honestly, I was trying to be an actor, and I played Robert Matthews in God's Country, who had all these wonderful white nationalist slogans that just... I really enjoyed the role. It was a lot of fun, but just being able to play that kind of character. Okay. It's one of the nice things about acting is that you can say horrible things that you don't believe in or whatever and not get in trouble, whereas I might get in trouble for my little quote there. Yeah, I mean, not real trouble, but like some people may disagree with me having said that. Lords may disband and then must pay an influence each stronghold and 2 at exile. Okay. What am I trying to do? Why? What's going on? I still have coin on Rutland. Warwick's a problem, but he's important to me. We're coming into the richer area of the game. I'm going to pay the 2 influence to stay alive. Warwick's a problem because he doesn't have any coin. And it's hard to come up with coin. It really is. The only place I can do it are taxation. Essex and Norfolk, good luck finding them, because they're over there now. They're no longer, of course, I could put them back. So I don't know where they are, right? I can look on the back of the sheet. Arundel, which I think is somewhere over here-ish. I don't see it. Is it this? No. I don't know where it is. Oh, I'm sitting on it. Okay, so I can tax that. It's not worth a lot. And St. Albans, which is going to be near London. And I don't really want to walk back there and tax. Getting money is really tough. When do I get the next waste? That's a long ways away. I mean, maybe I should just disband Warwick, but I can't afford to. He's too much of my force. He's too important. So screw it. We pay the influence. We go over here, and what is our situation here? Well, again, Buckingham is a lot less important than Somerset. Do I just want to force a fucking fight? Like, I feel like I have to. I feel like trying to operate in a more careful manner is not really paying off. Well, he's not really trying to, but he's trying to gather up efforts and whatnot. It feels like desperation of the failure of... So the failure of the military tactic led me to go into this tactic of trying to gather support. The failure of gathering support and the futility of that is leading me to, well, maybe I should just like smash troops together. We're a little apart. Can we make it together? Maybe. Maybe go for a pure military. Who do we have around? Northumberland, he's not going to be anywhere nearby. Exeter, going to be hard to get him. Henry is at London. If we consolidate on London and pull Henry into the game again, is Henry available? Henry is well available. Wow. Why haven't I wanted to pull him in? Okay. Yeah. I think we're going to try to gather our troops and go for a smash and grab and see if we can destroy the Yorkists, or at least knock them out enough that maybe we can like start trying to influence areas and convert them over, because we've lost an edge that we used to have in this game. In this period of relative peace. Okay. So if that's the case, we pay for our two leaders and we keep them both on the board. We go back down. Vassals may disband this turns or pay influence each. Influence is cheap, man. I pay 2 influence to keep Essex and Norfolk on the board. What's going on here? Well, I definitely pay in order to keep these guys on the board because I'm planning on fighting, man. That's the decision that the Lancastrians made. I don't know if the Yorkists are really are on board with that. They feel like they're in okay shape, but Warwick's attacks on Rutland right now. But we can make it another turn. We can tax Arundel a couple of times and slowly move forward. I don't know. If we remember, you know, exiles and vassals. There are no exiles. There are no exiles and there are no vassals in this turn's box. So we're good. It's muster time. I have 2 spaces on Rutland. Who do we have that we could gather? Salisbury. Sorry, I'm pronouncing that middle syllable again, because that's really the difference. You change the difference between Salisbury and Salisbury is pretty close. The difference between Salisbury and Salisbury is, you know, March. Where does March come in? Of course, he comes in up there. That's still depleted. Getting someone in York might be cool. How many cards am I going to have? Like, being able to start converting his back areas might be kind of neat, but it also might draw him to attack. But that would draw him off. It's an interesting thought. So, what are my points right now? Well, first thing I should do is look to see if I have any cards that I want to levy for Rutland. Make something clear. I'm not sure if the wandering around without a goal, which the designer kind of said, hey, you've expressed a concern about this. I'm not sure if what you mean, if what he's referring to with that is my bumbling along. No. Bumbling along is, I may have some goal. Either meet the enemy militarily or try to convert areas to create a power base. Those are the couple of goals that I've sort of identified as viable, you know, paths. It's not that I don't have one of them. I have a strategic goal at any given time. What I lack is the link between what I need to do, you know, the actual physical mechanisms of the game and getting me towards that strategic goal. There are some games, I guess, where I'm truly bumbling around and I have no idea what I should even do strategically. And there's some extent of that here, right? Because it's not clear how easy it is to catch the enemy militarily, how easy it is to convert these areas. Both of them are problematic, and making that balance is hard, right? But I do feel like I can make a choice between those two, even if I haven't chosen one or the other. You know, even if one or the other isn't obviously superior, right? I can just choose to pursue one. The bumbling around is I can't figure out how to get there, right? Like, I start converting areas and then, oops, I didn't get together and get my coin where I needed it to be so I could tax. Or oops, I got too much coin and I decided I didn't want it anymore, so I gave it to God knows what, because it didn't do me any damn good. I didn't have a nice party as far as I can tell. I certainly didn't get any popular support from like inviting people to the party. As far as I can tell, I just dumped it in the Thames. Okay, so between me I have five of these. This levy, each Yorkist levy troop can add 2 militia. I really don't feel like, even if I go into battle, I want those extra militia. What have I pulled out for possible cards for Rutland? Burgundians, handgunners. Handgunners are interesting. Take a look at them. They do double hits in melee, in missile fire. The only thing that does that is longbowmen, but they also get themselves a melee shot and they're armored. So they're pretty decent extra troops. Very, very appealing if I go for the military option. Or if I'm worried that the Lancasters will. York's favored son, influence and command. Let's improve Rutland's cards. That sounds really like a good idea. And then Southerners, I can dominate the South. Okay, I can't get the Burgundians. The Burgundians will only go to March, and I guess that's York. So throw that away. So I think I actually want both of these. Let's hold off on them. I haven't made my choice complete because I'm a little low on carts and stuff too. I was thinking that I wanted to bring Salisbury into play. Earl of March is really not that great a leader at this point. He's still very young. So's Rutland. Rutland's even younger. March, I don't know. What are we, a year in? He's like, you know, maybe 19 years old. And Rutland is probably 17 or 18. Okay, so let's take a shot at mustering York. How do we do this? We don't remember anymore. We have to check influence. That's going to give one away. But we're at 1 through 5, and we're going to try to, I say York, it's Salisbury. See, he is not an heir, yet he comes with York. We get lucky. I'm going to set him up. Shit, oh shit, oh shit. No, we don't. He's all the way over here. All right. He was appealing. Much less appealing. Only comes with 1 coin in an already depleted area. Sure, York is too. Doesn't convert anything over to me, although I could use him to move. How many cards did I have here? I have 6 cards this phase. I can get away with 6. So instead of that 2, yeah. Do we want more boats? An option here. What if we take 2 more carts? Remember, 1 action gives you 2 cards, right? That's 1. We get another ship. Although this is kind of shitty because when we get to waste, I'm only going to get I'm only going to have one, whether I build or not. Okay. And do I have any vassals left? I think I've played out all my vassals. So Dudley has fallen over. I could fire off and gain Dudley. And again, they just cost me influence. They're okay. Dudley's in a friendly area. Stanley's in a friendly area. Yeah, why don't I try to grab me a vassal? My voice is going. So levying a vassal is check influence. Sounds good. So we'll pay that influence. We could take my prior die roll, but I feel like I've made different decisions at this point. I don't know which one I want it. It really doesn't matter in a lot of ways. Dudley looks a little closer to the center of action, so let's take him. We have no limit, and what's kind of fucked up is it doesn't affect, like, all it affects is influence, because they're paying their own way. So I don't have to feed them, I don't have to pay them money, I don't have to do anything. And that feels a little weird. So one of the things with levy and campaign is normally your vassals come with troops that you have to feed. And that's a pain in the ass because the countryside will only support so much food. Fucking battery. Now it's like playing hide and go peek. The vassals end up costing you because they have to live off the land or you have to bring supplies to them. It makes sense, there are troops there. Somehow or another, these guys all support themselves. So does your retinue, but don't worry about your retinue. Your retinue is just like a bonus, very powerful force that you have. I'm not that upset about it. It's probably smaller than these, but more powerful. But the vassals are bringing an equivalent to a retinue type force into play. And at some point or another, the number of them, I'm getting pissed at my battery thing, will end up causing, will end up making it so that you have to give food to them, right? At the very least. I understand you don't have to pay them. They're sworn men, whatever, although why they don't come with any of their own troops, I don't know, but again. But the mechanism that levy and campaign normally uses for vassals makes a lot more sense. Your army is bigger, you still have to feed it, you still have to do whatever you have to do to keep it in the field. And you may have to pay the vassals coin. Here, sure, you're not paying them coin because you're paying them influence. You're using influence to keep them in play, which feels very, very cheap comparatively, even though it's victory points, right? But it's those other commodities, the food and the coin, that just don't feel like they're working right to me. I don't know. All right. With Rutland, do I want to give him both of these? Makes my life a lot easier. And he can take both of these because he is one of the heirs. So I think we've done everything. He's beginning to look pretty weak. Beloved Warwick, I can get rid of this. That's not going to make a difference. Over to this side. And I'm feeling wiped out. This illness is definitely impacting my capabilities here. Sure, I often feel wiped out by the levy, but in this case, it's not just, I'm also just not up to it as much. Point out my critiques. You know, look, every game system has its issues where it rubs wrong and doesn't work quite right, right? What I'm doing in some ways, though, is comparing this to like where it doesn't feel right in comparison to the original, which has brought its own issues and errors. I mean, look, every game is an approximation, an abstraction of the reality to allow you to, in an enjoyable fashion, you know, kind of simulate the events that are going on, get you the narrative, give you a competition, all these different things. And they're all pulling in different directions. And so, you know, if I come up with a critique as to, wow, something is too finicky and hard to play, and then in the next game I'm facing, wow, this doesn't really feel, you know, this feels like too much of an abstraction, it doesn't mean that I dislike a game, right? It's just I bore into and sink my teeth into the things that really irk me and keep hammering on them. In part because I'm trying to figure out, is there a solution? For example, with the coinage thing, I think I found a solution with the waste coin. I think I found a solution that makes me happier. I'm not going to play with it this time because other people, on the other hand, might enjoy the gamey, difficult decisions involved in collecting coin and being able to maintain it over time and whatnot, and may be happier with that than they are with trying to make sure that something aligns better with the reality that they see. You know, again, these conflicting desires in any game design. In this case, I don't even remember what I was harping about. But yeah, I mean, whatever it is, it doesn't necessarily make it a bad game, and it certainly doesn't make it a bad game, right? Like, just because I pick on something, I probably pick on games that I like more than I pick on games that I like less. I mean, if you take a look, I had a lot of fun with the Europa Universalis Pop, and saw great ways to maybe play around with it. Some of the most flawed games that I have, I like the most, but like flawed in my view at least. But in part because I feel like I'm trying to get a grasp on why they're the way they are, and whether I can make that change or not, whether I can make the changes that I kind of foresee, and whether they make sense. Anyway, I'm probably in fuck me. I'm probably in a delirium at this point, but I've got to do another fucking levy. Don't you dare. My relationship with inanimate objects is interesting. Oh, you little fuck. You've had it. Humans, I believe that I can threaten inanimate objects into compliance, you see. I taught the little thing a lesson. It's down there, and it's being perfectly fine where I can kick it. Okay. You know, it's kind of funny because, like, with humans, I definitely have this different moral standing, like in terms of I shouldn't threaten humans, I shouldn't abuse them, stuff like that. Animals are somewhere in between. And then inanimate objects, I feel like I can let my true, like, evil come out against them. As evil as it is. Like, I still don't want to hurt them. But I'm willing to threaten them at least. Okay. Let's take a look here. So my goal was, hey, let's get Henry into place. Now this guy doesn't like planning. Let's keep going with that strategy. Because I'm looking and I'm like, well, Somerset's going to have trouble. How am I going to get things going? I haven't looked at my Arts of War. I started peeking at them, but I'm just too delirious to cope with it. So let's try to bring London into play. Remember, lords come in a different way than the vassals. You don't have to, like, be friends with the lord's area, right? You just, let's look. Loving Lord checks. Add to a lord at a friendly locale. I'm not. Shit. Somerset's unable to levy anything because he had that fucking problem. Okay, so his first action has to be, he has 2 lordship. He has to convert this, 1, 2. And that drops towns by 2. He's done. I was looking at getting Henry, but that may not be a this turn thing. At least I have 6 cards. If I wanted Henry, I would have to take another lord who is ready, his cylinder to muster. Yeah. So his seat would have to be free of enemy lords, which it is. So I could bring Henry into play still with his big force. I think I'd rather get closer. So let's look. Buckingham has a huge amount of lordship, though. Wowzer. Do I have any vassals? I don't control a lot of area, so I don't see any vassals available for me. Who the hell's this? Oh, that's... I was looking at these guys. That's Exeter. Because I could bring him into play, and he would then bring vassals into play. Well, let me look for Arts of War cards, see if there's anything that helps me. Ending for this long, the world's not making any fucking sense anymore. All right. I want this. I grab that. That leaves me 2 more lordship actions. I think I had something that might increase. Nah, I didn't see anything that increased his command. I could increase his supply capabilities. That would be really, really helpful. However, more and more I'm thinking, I really, really fucking want Henry. Because I'm looking at gathering at Oxford, and that would work pretty well for me. So I am going to take 1 influence to try to get Henry. I'll give it a +1, so I'm on a 4. That'll give me 1 more left. Okay, so I do get Henry back. And we'll set him up with all the effects that has. He won't be able to tax, but he has a shitload of coin. That'll help a lot. He has carts. He has provender. Even though he's in an exhausted area, he comes in with a lot. And put that there. That's not him. God damn, I can't figure anything out anymore. I'm thinking about looking for another card. Like there's things that double your carts, which could be easier. Things that double your capability to pull provender in. I'm not sure which makes the most sense. About Buckingham, he has very few commands. Same kind of situation as Rutland is in. I think increasing his capability to draw supply doesn't really make a lot of sense. Using a card to do the same as I can do by just grabbing 2 carts doesn't make a lot of sense. Now I will set up Henry, who swings London over, shows up here, and I think gets all his shit on his tile. Fortunately for me, I am about to just collapse from dizziness and whatnot. I don't know if I got everything right. I kind of don't care. We're moving into the campaign stage, right? Let me just double check. I got everything there. So I could think of one reason why increasing his carts by 2 wouldn't be as good as the card. Now, there's double reasons. There's reasons that go within reasons and whatnot and all that kind of shit. But for him alone, doubling his carts is the same as the card would do. But the card, I think it only affects his own. This lord's carts, yeah, no. He can't use other people's carts to double. So, yeah, the only reason I can think of is if you're at 1, well, no, because waste halves you now. You don't just lose one thing. So, yeah, the rules to this are different. So the card, I don't think it helps. I don't think it makes a damn bit of difference. Unless you're at one card. It's still just a one card. But yeah, the idea is like the card improves your ability when you have a single card without any chance of it being wasted. I just, it doesn't seem like a worthwhile thing as a capability. It feels like really a waste because you only have 2 of these slots and you can have as many fucking carts as you like. So doubling the, okay, no, I already have 4 cards. If I add 2 more, I go to 6, but if I add that card, I go to 8. So yeah, if you have a huge quantity of cards, sure. All right, so there's a reason for it. But yeah, the idea of trading a card slot away feels really, really unlikely, and also I don't think I'm going to have that kind of level of force available. In fact, I'm pretty unhappy that I have this feed 2 here with all these stupid militia. I'm hoping I can get some of them killed. I can't even raise additional forces, certainly not right now, but because London is exhausted again from all the taxation, from all that money they threw into the Thames. Okay, I'm gonna go play some Raid, and someone asked about that on another video. I kind of just assume people who watch my videos, especially on the same series, know. But yeah, I'm totally fucking addicted to Raid Shadow Legends. It is my heroin. In the sense, not that I have any enjoyment of it. I don't enjoy the game at all. It's a shitty game. Don't play it. Don't take drugs, kids. But it is the one thing that once I stopped working, you know, when I got laid off, that replaced work as a way to not have to like suffer the pain of existence anymore. So I just like mainline the shit. Right, I got a response from the designer. Yeah, I know I'm broken into the middle of between the levy and campaign, but I've been too busy with Raid and too unwell, honestly, to come up and play. I'm not really that sick. It's just I'm not thinking well, and I think you saw that earlier in the video. But I got a response from the designer on the tax. The wastage affecting the tax. And it actually makes sense to me. I can be convinced of things. It doesn't mean that I like what happened, but I didn't like what happened with other things. Here's what it is. That tax is not really tax. That it is largely collecting up, obtaining loans in order to pay the troops. And if you don't actually use them, it does make sense that those loans would be called back in. I buy that as an argument. It's unfortunate from my point of view that it's called tax then. Although, honestly, tax doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense, right? Like, you can only get it in certain locations, and, right, it actually fits better. And it's very helpful to have this understanding. I did not see that in the designer's notes nor anywhere else, this argument. But it does actually defend against the criticism that I have from a realism point of view. From a gameplay point of view, look, it's a hard fucking game. It just is. All of the levying campaigns put you on this kind of knife edge thing. And yes, he took a shot at my saying, hey, I might as well not plan. So my argument with not planning is not that that's the best thing, but that unless you can plan a lot better than I'm capable of, at this point at least, it probably doesn't behoove you to put a lot of planning in. Like, the burden, you learn one thing that doesn't work. Not having coin doesn't work. It's bad. You end up revolting. You end up with terrible things happening to you. Collecting up coin thinking that it'll last, which it does in all the other levy and campaign games, right? So there's sort of an expectation that it'll last. It's easy to forget a roll and whatever. That is not a good move. Have I learned my lesson? Did I burn my fingers enough? I don't know. I learned enough to know I don't want to go into a waste situation with too much cash. I don't want to have too little cash ever. I don't want to have too much cash at that point, and probably that means, for the most part, ever. Although very early in the yearly cycle, you could probably scarf up a lot of cash. I could have done other things with those actions, which would have put me in an advantageous position over the Lancasters. But what ended up happening is essentially both sides made mistakes of different natures. I don't know why I ran out of cash here consistently. I actually just couldn't find the money to operate. Whereas over here, I was aware of the problem. I kept running into it. I just couldn't find the money for the most part. Over here, I found lots of money, but it didn't do me any good, and it put me in a worse position. So one of the things is, if it is just, here's my argument against the loans thing. If I return those loans, right, and they're full, well, they should be available again. I should get some undepletions or something along those lines at my tax centers. I should be able to get something back to make up for, even if they are just loans, to make up for the fact that I wasn't able to spend them. But, again, I'm not dumping it in the river. This argument makes sense in that sense. But wouldn't those loans still be available? Or would I just be written off by them? I don't know. You can make a hand-wavy argument that they're like, well, you didn't need it last year, or screw you, man. It's just like, oh, come on, man, give me some more money. Anyway, I just want to get that out because that was a major critique that I really had. Seeing it as loans does make more sense. Well, here I am, it's Thursday. It's a pretty day, actually. The afternoons have been pretty, and I really ought to go shopping as always. I've run out of my lunch meat, which is one of the sort of key things. Like lunch meat and bread are the two things that I'm like, wow, when I run out of those, it's like, now I gotta do complicated stuff. On the bright side, I had to start cooking some stuff, and I ended up doing most of my dishes, which have been sitting around slowly accumulating in the sink for about a month. No, make it 2 months at least. And it was kind of nasty, but whatever. I don't tend to use a lot of dishes. I reuse the same plate or whatever again and again and again, because all I'm eating is sandwiches for the most part, right? But now things become more complex. But anyway, I got the ugly part done. Nasty thing happened last night. One of my tarps fell. Why do I tell you all this stuff? Well, because I don't have any other humans. I use these tarps to give me, channels of dryness during the winter. And they're pretty cool. I don't use them. I moved in and they were there. And one of them fell and I replaced it. A much smaller one. That's a huge one for like a boat or something. It's going to cost me like $300 to replace. And I don't know. Anyway, where are we? We're about ready to go into the campaign. How much do I remember? Not much. I was probably a little feverish last time. But let's program. Obviously, Henry is here. I think my plan was to gather at Oxford. I don't know what Warwick was planning on doing. His world has changed. right? Because Lancaster went after him. So now I've got to reassess his world anyway, and I already knew what Lancaster wanted to do. So I'm not in a bad shape. The thing I remember that the designer pointed out, just a mistake of mine playing out, as opposed to the interesting stuff, was I did a sale activity. And you know, yeah, here it does say entire card. It doesn't really jump it out all that much, but I knew that it took my entire card, but it doesn't normally. So since I don't have any cards or anything that give me capabilities, there, actually on top of the great ships, I think it does let you operate for just one command or whatever. But I cheated with the Yorkists, so it's kind of cool that they screwed up with the cash anyway, because they couldn't have done it as much as they did, and it probably about equals out. So I don't feel too badly, I guess, having cheated with them. All right, time to program. Having taken the Southerners card, I actually have the requirement for dominating the South now. So I'll be getting those 2 extra points. And remember, things have been standing about equal between the two powers recently. Of course, Lancaster's moved down a little bit. But what that means is I don't have to continue in the path I was taking of capturing all the strongholds within the South. Sadly, I'm pretty close. I've decided to go along the coast, so I probably will do this. I'm a little confused about the choices. Wales in the north definitely feel like massive power bases that were utilized in the game. The south, I'm not as certain as this, but I'm going to trust the designer and his research staff on this, that is fitting. I'm also going to trust them that Cornwall is not a major base when I thought it was. And then the question is, would other major bases have been possible? Like, could you have done something in, like, I don't know, this is like East Anglia or something like that? Would that be a base? Would it make more sense to divide the country into a bunch of different patchworks? Because, yeah, I mean, the Northern Marches and the Welsh March, or Wales itself, because the Marches was really this area here, but the Welsh power base, these are ones that I remember having huge effects in the Wars of the Roses. And I honestly thought that Devon and Cornwall were more of an equivalent sort of segmentation than, say, the South was. But again, my knowledge, even though I've read heavily on the era, my knowledge of this is pretty low. Certainly compared to people who have devoted a few years to putting this game together and doing the research required for it. So I'm going to open up with Warwick. The fact that I have the York's favored son giving me a command of 2, that's the same as Warwick's. So that's actually pretty potent. I'm going to start with Warwick because he's going to do supplies. Now this combination is obscenely powerful. And I just don't have the cards to make up for it. I have 4 cards. I get, because I built another ship. Why did I build another ship? I don't know. Stupidity, to tell you the truth. I really shouldn't have. I should have built another cart, another 2 carts, it turns out. So this goes to 4, 8. Well, I can only carry 2 more. You know, totally worthless. I really needed the carts to extend rather than the extra ship. But anyway, screw it. I put that down for Warwick. His first action is going to be to grab supplies. His second action is going to be to tax because his noble's there. Now, shit. But Warwick's the one who has to do the movement. This is the problem. So what the hell can I do with Rutland? Dunno. All right. So I'll do Warwick again to move him 1, 2. That gets me to Winchester. Then I can do Rutland to convert Winchester completely over to Yorkist cause with 2 actions. Then I need to do Warwick again. I could move up to Newbury, but that's going to give up my supply path, right? Do I even want to do, I mean, do I want to just capture these instead and get my route going up this way? Let's see what that would do. See, I was going to jump up here, but then I just don't have a supply line except way back to here to my boats. Which means I need to get to Bristol for a port. Now I'm thinking only in terms of ports for supply, which is equally problematic. My mind gets fixated, right? So let's say instead I move here, I convert. See, I just don't have enough Warwick cards, and he's my lieutenant. So what other options do I have? Well, Rutland doesn't have any supplies, so if he goes off on his own, he'd have to supply himself. So it's almost like I only have 3 fucking cards. I can't tax with Rutland. It's Warwick's vassal. I put everything on one person. Unfortunately, all the power is in his hands. So Rutland's becoming kind of unimportant to me, even though I gave him this extra card. Shit! And he has crap for influence, so, you know, unless I'm in the location, it doesn't really do me any good. Okay, what if I definitely need to tax. What if I tax twice, because I actually need more money than I have. I tax twice to begin with. I supply because I want to supply, and then I move. Or I move and then I supply, which is better because I have enough provender to feed myself. I move and then I supply. That gets me to Southampton. I use Rutland, maybe expend an influence to get up to Salisbury in terms of grabbing stuff. I double move. Question is, do I want to go up to Wells? So this would be a 1 move. Unfortunately, there's no highway going up here. So I would go up to Wells. But this is dangerous, because if Somerset ever respawns, he's going to convert this. So I control both of these, assuming I'm lucky, and it is a luck. I make it up to Newbury. I think this is the better place with Warwick there. That leaves me with 2 Rutland moves. I don't know what the hell to do with them. I honestly have no idea, but I'm not thrilled. At least one of them is going to be converting Newbury, maybe Oxford. But I really don't know. I really don't know. But I don't have a great card check here. Unfortunately, that leaves me without a Warwick to react as sort of my last card to whatever the Lancastrians are doing. That's going to probably prove to be somewhat of a problem. Let's go to the Lancasters. I apologize for the amount of effort I'm putting into, or the amount of description I'm putting into the thought processes and the of trying to affect the myself through the mechanism, or my plans through the mechanisms. But honestly, unlike every other game in this series so far, every single one, I think, at this point in the game, I had a pretty good idea of how to make things happen, how to get my supplies, how to capture locations, whatnot. How to make, I kind of do in the most part, but how to make the numbers work, you know. And this is what's really hitting me here. Part of it is I fucked up with Warwick, there's no question, but he needed the ships to get to the other side. He didn't need this, he didn't need humongous points of that. He didn't need to take all of the vassals, but he was better at it, you know. So it's kind of a screwed up thing. Now over here, what is my plan? My plan is to gather everyone at Oxford. How the hell do I do that? Well, Somerset, the gate guy, can move down to Northampton. Buckingham only has one command. He's going to want to move to Northampton. Somerset can move them from Northampton to Oxford. Can a lieutenant pick people up as he goes? That's what I have to look up. Because that's going to be the key here. Because I move Oxford here. Somerset moves 1 down the highway. 2. He's allowed to move that far. Now, obviously, I have to worry about things like provender, but it looks like I have them in play. If I can pick Buckingham up, I can have both of them here with 1 card from each of them. I think I can, because March is an action, and I will be... So there would be some question if Buckingham started out, was going to be here in Leicester. Because if he was in Leicester, my March activity starts here and ends here, because I'm using the highway. And passing through him, I might end up not being able to pick him up. The rules are not clear on that explicitly. There might be some kind of example that shows it. Honestly, I think he should be able to, but whatever. There could be timing issues that would explain why he wouldn't. But because he's going to be here, I start my first march to here. The second point of my card would get me here. Now, the question is, do I want to operate that far from sort of this supply base that I'm building? Or do I actually need to start gathering things? Now, I'm not going to be able to get Leicester no matter what. But Northampton, I could actually spend a point to get. And I could do this with Somerset, spend a point to gain this, and then a point to move here. And then Henry will shift to Oxford. This is the case. Now, the question is, does he continue on to Gloucester with everyone, assuming that's legal, or does he use this and then have a second move that can move him down to Bristol? Or do I plan for Newbury? It kind of doesn't... It's going to depend on what the Yorkists are doing. So, yeah. So how do I want to program this? So Buckingham has to move first into Northampton. Somerset will shift down, could convert 1. Do I want to? That takes my power away, right? If I convert Northampton, then I'm connected up through Petersborough, but I don't have Lincoln, But I have a supply base back here that I could rely on because London's depleted. So if I move all the way down to Northampton and don't grab supplies, grab influence there, or whatever it is, favor, then I've actually got a little bit of a problem. Like if I use my second move to move both Buckingham and Somerset to Oxford, gathering my forces more quickly, but I think that's what I want to do anyway. Because then I move Henry in. Henry also only has 2 lordship. Oh wait, Buckingham has 3 lordship. Awesome. So I can actually convert this on my way down. Henry has 2 lordship. He can move to here, conceivably convert it. Henry's my mover. At this point, no, Buckingham has 3 lordship. It's not commands. Commands is the issue. I should put a valor on Clifford there. So I will not have control of Oxford if I move here. So then the question is, do I move down? So do I convert Northampton, move down to Oxford, Okay, let's move Henry to Oxford, convert it. Move Somerset down to Oxford, and then do a supply action. That's 4 of my 6. That'll get me resources coming up through here somewhere. Maybe straight from Oxford, but I may be able to pull from Coventry, although I don't want to do that. That's a tax location. Hey, taxes, man. Okay, I have a lot of money right now. I don't want to overdo it. But it's hard to find money, man. So where am I? I don't know. I don't fucking know. Buckingham, Somerset, convert. Henry, convert. Somerset, move and supply. Was that the deal? Maybe. Who's this? He's not mine. He's not his. He's got to be up here somewhere. There he is. Okay, so he's not going to be able to help me. So I don't know where I am. I was trying to figure that out and then noticed a shield, a piece of information that could be useful because maybe I could tax there. Do I put another Buckingham and grab more taxes? I don't know. I got 7 taxes. He takes 2, 3, 4. That's not a lot. Coventry is a city. Let's slip a Buckingham at the beginning of everything and grab more taxes. We've learned our lesson, right? Wait, we were supposed to go all out for killing. Screw that. We got enough to last us until killing happens. Okay, so what are we doing? Buckingham, Somerset, boink. Henry, boink. Somerset moves again, but then gathers resources with all these carts. But all those carts don't help very much. Unlike in Inferno, I can't grab supplies from everywhere. That's fine, but it's kind of hard to get enough provender up to do everything. But okay, so everybody's gathered here. I've got some supplies. That means Henry does something. And we're going to do something with Henry again since we have enough cards to do so. And he's my marshal. That gives me the most fluidity. That's 2, 4, 6 cards. That matches what I have. That's the kind of thinking and painful process that you have to go through in playing this game. From my point of view. You know, you can play it with less planning than that. I don't feel like levying campaign rewards a lack of planning ever, except for if your planning is bad. Like my planning was bad with the Yorkists in terms of, hey, let me collect up money. And my planning was bad with the Lancasters in terms of, hey, let's collect up influence in areas when we don't have money. We should rather be, well, you don't want to be in enemy territory. That's just horrible too, because then you don't get to levy. So it's really a very demanding game in terms of what it does. Let's check my cards. Should have done this earlier. Plan an enemy lord in battle, play in battle, play upon approach to prevent exile. That's one that's not likely to come into play. I think both players are willing to do a battle. Battle, battle, death, death, prohibits approach and intercept. I chose not to play this. Conceivably, I could play this now. But again, I'm not necessarily opposed to fighting a battle out, even though I'm going to be outnumbered at this point, simply because what else is there? You know, am I heading somewhere where I'm going to gather more troops? Is really the question that comes down to it. I've got these 2. Who else is available? Edward. So that's where I should be heading more or less. Okay. God, I'm tired already. All right, let's light a pipe and start moving some pieces. And maybe take off a shirt. So One thing that kind of disturbs me about the game before I start flipping command cards, one thing that kind of disturbs me about pipes is how crap lines up along the edges of it and the little pipe knife can't cut it anymore. And I feel like I have to take a screwdriver and use it like a chisel, but I'm afraid I'll break the whole pipe. But that's something else. Now, one thing that kind of feels wrong about the game is this idea of a close score game ending at the end of 3 years and then that deciding everything. I think that's more of a gameplay concession than anything else. Just saying, look, let's make sure the game only lasts X number of hours for each of the wars, because who the hell wants to play something that plays out infinitely? I'm a little unhappy about that. Games didn't used to be that way all the time. Think Kingmaker, which, 12 hours and you're like, wow, nothing's really happened, Some exciting stuff happened early on, and now we're just waiting for something, to fall. At least the old Kingmaker. Supposedly the new ones fix some issues, from what a friend of mine tells me. But a lot of other of these kind of smaller, of certain smaller games, and things like Soldier King comes to mind, put you in a position where you're fighting for dominance over something in an economic military sphere, and it's fairly likely that it'll end up in a stable situation where neither side can really quite get the grasp on the other. Of course, that's like a 7-player game, so there's room for diplomacy to break things open, but there's also room for diplomacy to keep rebalancing the game, which is something that you see in games that don't have sort of an automatic elimination of a player. So something like Imperium Romanum, that almost certainly will end up ending just because of certain mechanisms built into the game, mechanisms I don't really believe in, but in some cases. But here, it could end up the same kind of thing. It could end up an everlasting game if you just went to, hey, you have to make it to here, or you have to wipe out the enemy militarily. Eventually, players will get bored, and they will fling things at each other. And also, there's the concept of eventually the lords will get tired, and the game would have to take on a different nature than the wars actually did. The one where maybe it's hard to even define what actually happens, right? Like there might be a long period of truce or something, which ends up being kind of abstracted away by the way the victory works here. So maybe that's fine. Anyway, let's start flipping and see what we do. We've given ourselves enough babble and time that we don't remember what our plan is anymore, right? War. Was he going to double tax, or was he going to supply? I'm low on cash. Arundel's taxing. Arundel's just a fucking village, so I'm not going to get a lot of cash out of it. But I absolutely need to tax. Add coin per stronghold type, that's a 1, right? Okay, let's see what this is. Vassal, so here, tax locale not exhausted, vassal seat or London. Check influence to add coin. If coin is added, deplete locale. Okay. So I got to check influence. I know I wanted at least 1 coin. I probably want 2 from here. Oh, that's not good. All right, we're going to go again. This may screw up all our plans. This time we get a coin and a depletion down here. Now that's 2 of Warwick's task. I hope he's next. I don't do that yet. Because we're short on supplies now. But I don't remember what we were going to do, so it's okay. Buckingham. Buckingham, the important thing was to tax, wasn't it? No, we chose not to tax. So the important thing for Buckingham is to move. And eats a provender. Another Warwick. What comes next? Rutland. All right. Warwick's plan. I don't remember. I don't fucking remember. Rutland, Warwick, Rutland, Rutland. What was I going to do with so many Rutlands? I don't know. Warwick's plan was... Rutland can convert this. He does have an extra command. He can convert that. So Warwick's plan was to do something. Okay, Warwick's plan was to move. We have a feed requirement. And to convert this. And we'll go with less tax than we were hoping. And we need to do that. Right? I think so. There goes both my food. No, he didn't want to convert this. He wanted to supply, but he can't supply because he's not in the area. Fuck! That's why it doesn't work. Okay, so Warwick's plan should have been grab supplies. I had 2 supplies. I should have 2 left. Because I had 4 cards. So I grabbed supplies, I moved. I don't convert. Somerset's move. Somerset was to move down here. Oh, I didn't convert anything. And I believe to convert that. Is it right? I don't know. I don't fucking know. Is that a city? That's a town. I'm having trouble with the cities and towns, and it has to do with the stuff. Like, the villages, I wish they had less. I wish, I don't know. So I just got another town. I wish they were more distinguishable. I see the stuff sticking out, and I think, that sounds bigger, right? Of course, there's nothing but sticking out of here, so yeah, it's really hard, but the graphics are really kind of getting in my way here. A little bit. And I don't know what to do because they're kind of pretty. But on to Rutland. Rutland has 2 actions. One will be to convert the town of Southampton. The second was to spend an influence and another influence to try to convert Salisbury. That's gonna, Salisbury. That's going to cost me, or that's going to have a 3 chance. I have +1 influence. Make it a 4. We succeed. This is important. We get a city. And our power is increasing. And we have everything except Winchester in the south. But we dominate the south because of the Southerners card. The problem with this is, this is more useful when you've already dominated an area and left it behind, and now the dominance is starting to fade, to get you that influence a little later. Doing it at this point, well, if I lose Rutland, I lose these points. So it's like, I can't really rely on it. But we did Rutland. It's Henry's turn. Henry's plan was to go to Oxford. Have I've been eating? I don't fucking think so. I don't know. I don't think Somerset fed. I'll flip one of his. He did not take anyone with him. Okay. Henry was to go to Oxford, to convert Oxford, right? I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea anymore. I've lost track. To convert Oxford, I have to feed Henry. Henry has to eat 2 provender. So we're running low. That gets me back over here. War, and it's not like the little counters will help. Like, I mean maybe, but they would slow me down so much. Warwick's turn. How's my food? My food's not great. If I move all the way up here, like, I would love to engage Henry, but it looks to me like I'm not going to get to him. I don't have enough movement to get to him. So I think what I want to do is I want to move, who am I moving? Warwick. I want to move to Salisbury, and then I'm going to do another supply action. And for this, I can gather tons, but I have 4 carts that I can drag across here, so I can get 4 food. 2 of that gets used up this turn. So that goes over here, because we had to feed for moving. And what I have left is 2 Rutlands that I just don't know what I'm going to do with. I really don't. I may end up passing, to tell you the truth. Although, you know, I can spend some influence to get Winchester, but do I want to? Or do I want to take Dorchester? All right, Somerset. Somerset owns Northampton. He will move down, and now I have a shitload of supply markers, of supply to take. I'm going to have to feed twice off Somerset, but I have 7, 8, 9 carts. Unfortunately, the best I can do is go to a city which can get me to Provender. All these fucking carts, and it kind of stops here. Unless I want to go to Coventry, which I do not, because Coventry is a taxable location. Hard to... So I do that, and I will be grabbing those 2. I easily have the carts for it. But then I have to spend one off that for the people who moved. And we're really having trouble getting into position. As the armies slowly grind together. Rutland. Rutland can't move my armies. But what can he do? I can keep gathering supplies. He has 2 actions. You know, this is what's crazy. Rutland has... We have enough carts for all of our provisions. We can't really we can't provide more. So I might as well take Winchester. It's a city. I'll do that with my 2 actions. First action, I have an influence of 3. Do I want to up my chances with another influence? Not really. That's a failure. Second action, let's make the influence 4. We take a city away from the Lancasters. Come back down here. Henry. What's Henry up to? Well, gosh. Do we just want to charge in and fight? I think we do. And then we'll have another Henry to enable me to take further actions. How much food do we need? Yeah, we don't have enough. Didn't we just gather all the food we needed? Yeah, you thought so. I can go back up to Peterborough and grab 2 more food. That would give me enough food to take everything. Do I think I'm going to win the battle? If I'm going to win the battle, I get some food. Right? And worst comes to worst, I'm pillaging in the middle of enemy territory, which is not that bad. Let's keep our flexibility of an additional card. We move down. There will be a moved fought. And we have to think real hard at this point, because this could be the campaign, right? If Warwick and Rutland are both knocked off, it's over. One kind of interesting thing, if Warwick goes into exile, he's immediately available the next turn to come back in. So I will not lose the game if everybody goes into exile. But if they're captured, killed, whatever, that's different. I looked over my cards. I have, what do escape ships do me? Yeah, so I have the escape ship, so even if I lose, I'm okay. I survive. And lots of battle cards. So I think we're going to fight the battle, which means we have an approach. All lords must participate. The approaching lord attacks. The other side defends. Instead of the battle marker, I use the moved fought marker. Because, I don't know, why not? Defenders and then the attacker's position. Well, Warwick's my stronger position. I'm going to be outflanked. That means I'll put Rutland in the center and Warwick on the right. Because that gives me a chance to knock out one of their lords and then face it 2-1, I'm guessing. Hard to call. The attacker gets to position his. At this point, I think we get to see the forces. So, I see Warwick has one hell of a big force. I'm going to try, first off, at the beginning of the battle, so that I can get 3-1 before he sets up. I'm going to try to disband a Yorkist lord. The only one with lower influence than Henry is Rutland. I have to check influence. That costs 1. I don't want to up it. Rutland disbands. So I'll get rid of him, and then I'll put Warwick in the center. Because I do that before the setup. Now, looking at my cards, Ravine, ignore that lord for engage and strike. We're going to do that. We're not going to do this. See, this we could have prevented an exile and forced a battle, but we can't prevent the escape ships. So it kind of doesn't matter who I put where, because there's only one enemy lord. He's going to be in the center. We're going to be on all sides. He can choose which one he attacks. So we'll put Henry in the center. Okay. And Buckingham on the sinister side. Attacker, I believe, has to play cards first, right? Oh, valor markers. Let's get some out there. Poor Warwick, not a great warrior. But he's my marshal. It's 2 valor. None for Henry. And 3 valor for Somerset, who is an experienced warrior. Kind of like York was. Okay. What do we have? The defender has to play held events first. All right. I'm not... Play in battle. You know, honestly, I think I've got this position. So let me consider my forces. Who's got better forces? Definitely want Somerset in play. Okay, so I'll switch it to this, protecting Henry, I guess. Henry's troops can do a boatload of damage. Especially because of the initial missile round, and we have the other. So we have to play the suspicion in the battle, and that will actually be happening soon. Let's see what he does. Not playing Parliament's Truce, we want this. Not playing an escape ship. Play in battle, so have all missile fire to friendly lords unless enemy leeward battle line. We'll definitely play that, because we're facing some. And we're playing caltrops. The attacker does not wish to play... Oh, we do. Lord round... Okay. So we played the suspicion. That takes effect. Now that effectively puts Buckingham out of the battle for the first round. That'll change. He's going to have to shift to the center. We play the ravine, ignoring that lord for engage and strike. Just both sides are kind of fucking with the other. Okay. We did valor. We do a round. The defender and then the attacker could decide to flee the battle. Well, things are looking a lot worse for Warwick at this point. Which maybe means he doesn't want to play these, but I don't know. He could immediately rout, and then he checks with death with a benefit of -2. I don't have to make a death check, so we're not doing that. We'll fight, we'll hope we get lucky, because otherwise we lose the battle and go into exile. And yeah, we can come in next turn. The war is not over, because Warwick goes into exile and immediately pops back up. And so does Henry, and again, that just does not feel right to me. It feels like exile should take you out of the war for a long period of time. Longer than just disbanding, I think. And if anything, it makes it easier for you to come back. Okay. As needed each round, both sides reposition lords. First the attacker, okay. Well, now we are actually forced into here, so it doesn't matter what the Lancastrian position was. How is this possible? Yes. Engage. Ignore that lord for engage and strike. Lords in the front will fight. I don't know what that even fucking means. Because we may not want to play this if it means we don't get to attack him. I thought it meant we ignore him for strike, but I think he's just not in play. Like it's a way of neutralizing a lord completely for the first round. That's the way I read it with that, because of the engage. Let me go get my playbook and check that, but I think I don't play this because that just prevents the battle for one round. Conduct the first round of battle as if the place were empty. Yeah. It just essentially neutralizes them. So I'm not going to play that. Question is, did I want to play cards for the Yorks? You know, I have a slight chance of winning the battle. I'm going to take it. But there might be an argument made for holding on to resources for a battle I could actually win. But that battle's a long time in the future if I go into exile. I'm going to have to play things out in a very different fashion, while the Lancastrians start to take all my territory back. So it's not good, right? So playing these, doing as much damage as I can, maybe I kill someone, something good happens, whatever. I think this is for the best. By the way, as to this card, first of all, not that card, this card, the Ravine. So to some extent it represents, scouting capabilities and everything like that. I understand the hand-waving arguments for these kind of event cards. But what it feels like is you're carrying a portable Ravine with you, because you get the choice to put this a battle anywhere. What I would much rather see, and again, it's not this system, but a game that instead of the kind of battle cards that are used in, say, let's take a look at some of the CDGs out there. When we look at the way battle cards were used in Hannibal or in the original We the People, where they're like, I have, a left flank attack and a this and a that, where you're just given a hand of cards. I would much rather you get a hand of battle cards that are events that can be advantaged in the battle based on your your tactical capabilities, right? Based on some kind of combat tactical capability. Tactical maneuver, or whatever you want to say. This is a much more complicated design than either type of system has. But it does feel weird that I'm carrying a portable Ravine with me. On the other hand, it feels a hell of a lot better that this is a card I had to draw and may represent something like Marlborough at Blenheim, where, was it Blenheim? I think so. Where he knew the terrain beforehand and basically forced the battle to be in that terrain. Makes a lot less sense here, where the battle could be happening anywhere. It could be any of your lords that are taking it, whatever. So, it just feels like you're carrying a portable Ravine along with any of your forces. However, here it's just a random event that I drew that I have a capability for. Feels kind of like the old SPI War of the Ring mechanism for, this kind of thing, although those made more sense because they tended to be magic, or something like the Ents or something like that showing up, which is a little different. But here it's like, and I don't know, they often tend to have geographical restrictions and whatnot to what they could be used. Here, I've just got a Ravine with any of my forces that I can slap down, and whatever, And you could argue, well, no, it's a more general, I can outmaneuver them on the field, whatever. Sure, fine. But it's with all of my forces, anyone can pull this off. It still feels weird compared to the solution that I was suggesting, which is a much more complicated and would, require a different kind of game. But it's a hell of a lot better than, do I want to raise troops or do I want a portable Ravine in my hand, as a battle card, which is the CDG, including these games that had these complicated and obnoxious battle card systems built into them that didn't work, they still had things that are like bad weather delays attack and stuff like that you can just play out of your hand. Call up a weather storm, I don't know. It just feels ridiculous that you can carry that information with you and know that you can prevent an attack at any time. I understand the gameplay advantages to that and to this, but both in terms of reducing complexity and in terms of a certain kind of enjoyment to, haha, I've got this secret in my pocket. But anyway, what does it have in its pockets? We were talking War of the Rings. Okay. So we got that right. And it does make sense that a Ravine would prevent all fighting. That unit is just out of play. It may not make sense that the Ravine doesn't block an outflank or something, but whatever. We do what we do. Okay. So now we're in strike, and the attacking side declares the order of engagements. There's only one engagement. It's across all of these. The defender is going to have to declare who he's attacking. Is that at this point? I don't think so. I think... okay. So simultaneously we count their missile hits. Let's look. I have all missile fire used against me, and this is not happening. Okay. So, missile fire. We look to the chart. We think we know it. Right. Okay. So that's 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5. I think this half got rounded up earlier. Anyway, we've got 6 hits going against the Yorkists. And now we count here. But this gets halved to 3 hits against the Yorkists. The Yorkists have 2 hits going against one of the Lancastrians. Which one do I want to shoot up? Yeah. Good fucking luck making a decision there. I'm going to shoot up Henry because he's in worse shape. Now, defenders get to choose which of their lords absorb the hits. Oh. Which of their own lords will absorb the hits first? Oh. So, yeah, we'll take this somewhere else then. We'll take this on Somerset, I guess. I don't know. Kind of like Somerset on the field. He's pretty potent right now. Let's take it on Buckingham. We don't mind losing him. Okay. Defending then attacking, apply the hits to their own units. Right then. Missiles are out. Do I want to chew up troops, or do I want to, like, have my vassals shot out from under me? It's an interesting question. Norfolk, Essex, Dudley. They're all disappearing next turn. It's going to cost me influence to keep each of them. I think we're going to take a vassal. But we're going to do these one at a time because I don't know. Essex is down here? No. Norfolk's here. I don't know where Essex is. Essex is going to be... No. In St. Albans up here. And Dudley... Where the fuck is Dudley? Leicester, which is way up here. I guess we'll take Norfolk. I feel most likely to be there. So 1 through 4, he absorbs it. We'll keep taking hits on him. All the missiles are gone. Come over here. He chose to take 2 missiles. Do I want to take these on Clifford? Or do I want to weaken my forces? I think I'll take on Clifford. No! The next one we'll take on a militia. Militia have only a 1 success. He may flee if things start looking bad. Okay. And now we hit melee. And total hits, we're going to cause 2 more hits against the enemy each round. Now, When did we make the choose? Defenders and attacker choose which of their own lords. Yeah, so we could choose different lords to absorb the damage on this. Let's see how much damage it is first. So it's 2. I don't remember my multipliers. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's a lot. And 0. So 14 total hits. Does overage hit other lords? I don't remember. Hits first. So I think then we shift to the next lord to take him. Okay. Now on his side, he's got quite a large number as well. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 20, 21, 22. Ugh. These numbers are getting big. 10, 18, 21, 22 hits. This is going to take a while to roll this out. Where do we want to assign our damage first? This will get wiped. Buckingham may get killed. Buckingham's not that important to me. And if he gets killed, then I can choose who takes next. All right. Let's look over here first. What do we have? We have ridiculous amounts. Is there a limit? Oh. I forgot about these counters. 12, 14. Yeah. These numbers are a bit too cumbersome to use counters for, aren't they? All right. And that explains, no, there is no limit. It's lots. All right, which makes sense. Lots of troops do lots of damage. And I gotta do some battery stuff. I'm so in the habit of showing everything in the game so far that it feels funny to like just abstract away the battle, especially when this is such a climactic battle. Of course, so is the other one. And battles are such a limited thing in this particular game. In other games in the Levy campaign, Levying campaign, battles seem to happen more. Here, I don't know. It may be because, you know, one side was fleeing and running around and hiding and building up enough force to fight again, and now here they are fighting again. Okay. So what do we got? We got 20, let's do this right. We got 22 hits here and 14 here. Okay. All right. 22 hits on the Yorkists. That's why it's white. All right. 22 hits. What do I want to start taking hits on? Well, Essex, Norfolk, and Dudley. You know, let's reduce. If I win the battle, I win the battle, and that's great. If I don't win the battle, I might as well take my hits on these things. So I'm going to take 3 hits on this. And these are all 4s, right? Yeah, they hit less, but they do a lot. So one of them is knocked out. I don't really care. I'll choose whichever, because I would roll these sequentially. I choose whichever one I most am okay with losing, which is Norfolk. No. I will re-roll that die. Might as well re-roll on a 1 through 4. early on because it'll get me more. But it doesn't. So there goes Norfolk. All right. That was 1, 2, 3 of the hits. All right. Now we can only do 2 dice for each because, again, we're hitting these lords at 1 through 4s. 2 hits. 2 hits. It's pretty quick. Ah! And no more valor. There they go. 2 hits. All right, on to the men-at-arms who get hit on a 1 through 3, or 4 through 6. That was 3 shots, 2 of which hit. And we still have to allocate the hits on them. That was 1, 2, 3. Now we're down to 1 die each on the men-at-arms. We'll do 2 of the longbowmen. Yeah. There they go. We can't take the last longbowman, so we switch to the retinue. If either the longbowman or the retinue falls, the battle is lost, and the battle is lost. And I'm sure this longbowman is hit as well. Okay. That's the hits on the Yorkists. What was I going to do here? I had decided, I don't remember. When did I have to decide? Do I decide now or simultaneously? Defenders, then attackers choose which of their own lords will absorb the hits first. Yeah, so I had to decide first, and I think, the best would be to chew up some of Henry's troops, but I don't want Henry leaving the field, and he's taking a fairly big hit. So with 14 hits, I think I had chosen to schwack Buckingham some more and give myself an option, because he's just not that valuable. So we take a look. Buckingham will be using red dice. Unfortunately, I don't have rules over here to roll on. So I like it better when it's quiet. I'll be rolling 1 die at a time for 1 through 3s on the men-at-arms. Okay, so that's 2 hits on him. I'm going to spend 1 of my valor. I should have spent it on fucking Clifford to reroll. He saves anyway. So we'll do another set. Yeah, they were both good, but 1, 2, 3 more hits. I think we're going to save our other valor for the retinue, but you can only use a valor once on each die roll. So, all right, that takes out the men-at-arms. I'll take 1 of the longbowmen, I guess. Sure. Just because if I take the retinue last, and now we hit the retinue. Okay, 3 hits were expended. The retinue's hit, but I re-roll with a valor. And he survives. Now I can take more hits on the retinue. 1. Okay, 2 more hits on the retinue, but he's fleeing, which means we now go to the next lord I want to take hits on. That's going to be Henry, because I actually want to reduce Henry's size. The fact that he's got like 9 troops doesn't make me happy, and I'm going to take it on crappy militia. 3 shots at militia? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to take 2 shots at militia. Then I'll decide. 2 militia get hit. I have 1 more hit that I can play. I'll play that on a man-at-arms. I have no valor. I can't take it on my retinue. That's a harsh hit. But he's got a chance of surviving. The battle has been won by Henry again. What a dude. Okay. After all round strikes, protection rolls, check each lord for rout. We routed. We should have rout on 2 lords. We have it over there. We forgot to flip him here. A lord routs if either all that lord's troops have routed or if the lord's retinue is routed or both. Don't actually know if it's possible for both. Like, is it? You know what? I think the rout happens later. Let me take this back. And this hit would have been on this. I would have been able to take an extra hit on him, even after his retinue goes. Only one side has unrouted lords. As a reward, the battle's winning side gains influence equal to the sum of the printed influence rating, plus 1 per vassal of the lords who fought. We have 3 vassals and 5 influence. That's 8. Boom. This is how we got a lead before. We beat them up in battle. Part of the economic engine is fighting battles. Now, I mean, there is an economic engine here, but I think it's almost impossible to beat the other player by just building a better engine for influence points. And the designer made that claim to me, but I'm coming around to that side. You still do build an engine, because without it, you will lose. If one player is building the engine and you're failing to do so, and not producing enough influence points, and not tying him down to a decisive battle, you will lose. The winning side's unrouted lords may receive assets. If the battle stronghold favors the winning side, it does not. We get nothing. Wow, we marched here without enough food because we thought we would get it some. That's okay, we'll pillage. Terrible. But it is fine. If the stronghold is neutral, no. If it favors the losers, transfer nothing. Unrouted lords determine the face of their routed units. We got 2 unrouted Lancastrian militia. Yay, I killed them both. This is perfect. I'm down to 6 troops. My feed marker goes away. That will help a little bit. And he'll be going away too. So actually I have enough provender for my army. Brilliance! Okay. And immediately disband any unrouted lord who loses all that lord's own troops. Again, I don't know how that would happen. I'm missing something here. Like, I don't think you can lose all your troops. Basically, if all your troops rout, you rout. I think this is an artifact from earlier Levian campaigns where you rout from the field, but you don't disband. But routing, I believe, disbands you. Yeah. Routed lords now die or disband. Routed vassals. First the defenders, then the attackers may play held events. Yes, yes, yes. I have an escape ship. Play upon death check. If Yorkist rout, to port. I don't know what the hell that means. 4.51. Route to port. Oh, that's route with an E. If Yorkist route to port, there is, for any round, so it's not an automatic. You have to build your way up to a port. You don't necessarily need ships, but okay. So we're going to go into exile instead. What's up with that? What's up with that? make sure I didn't just lose the game. Lord status on calendar, box locale, 435, 331. I don't know. It's going to be here. For each box who chooses, first slide the loser's influence points equal to that lord's printed influence rating, +1 per vassal on the lord's map. I think that's already been taken into effect. Unless death causes additional losses. Lords who die immediately disband. 3.24. See, I lost the battle. I took this penalty already. Do I take it again? No, See, I remember there being a penalty for death or looting. So unpaid, unfed, disband. Shipwreck incurs the same. No, not. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to pay the same price for exile. I think if I follow the rules explicitly, I would. But I don't think I'm going to pay the same price for exile that I would pay for picking it in the approach. Even though it essentially, like, it is definitely worded so that that would happen. Right? Because I do an exile instead. But that would be a double cost of the influence points equal to the Lord's printed influence rating, +1 per vassal. Lord gives up assets to approaching. Yeah, I've lost the battle. That's already accounted for. Strange, though, that you... as if spoils after battle. Yeah, no biggie. Lastly, the Lord going into exile and that Lord's vassals disband. Put an exile marker on the Lord's cylinder on the calendar. Okay, so it's 6 minus 5 is 1 turn in the future, which means Warwick will be available next turn, if I can find him. Which means the game is not over because he comes right back, which feels a little goofy. All right, and otherwise we just disband him. And we disband his vassals as well, so they're going to also be like 6 minus their service rating. Okay, and where does that put us? I'll leave this out of my way. I don't want my coffee. Like, the two are kind of competing with each other. Okay. We have another lord, though. Does he have anything that affects his death check? I don't think so. All right. But he does have... Oh, he didn't flee. I flipped those over. That's wrong. All right. Lord's roll. A routed lord dies on a 3 through 6. He does not die. So he just disbands. Now he disbands normally. That's not going to cost him anything. All routed lords who did not die, as well as routed vassals of unrouted lords. So Buckingham is going to disappear for 3 turns. And he's the wheel. Up here. His vassal is Clifford. Clifford is a special vassal. Nothing is going to happen there. Card doesn't get discarded or anything. We don't have to check for his death, which feels perhaps a little weird, but whatever. And then we clean this up. Discard their named capability cards. Don't remove them from the game. After resolving the end battle, we do the move fought. Held events go away. Command actions are skipped, and we go to feeding. Feeding, we have moved forward on both Somerset and Henry. Henry's smaller now, so all we need to do is eat the 2 food we have. We're not able to do anything after the battle. So here we are in a territory that we don't control. Nothing changes. Winning battles had an influence-like effect in Inferno. I'm really running low on batteries here, man. Okay. I think I swap out and try to figure something out. That puts things on a Yorkist turn. Oh, look, Rutland gets to go. Yeah, no. And he's not gone. He got scared away. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay. And then we have a final action here, which is a Henry action. I got problems food-wise. Troll up here and get rid of these. I got some issues food-wise, but I also am not in a friendly location. So I'm going to take both my actions to flip this over, and that gives me 2 city points, clearing some of the influence issue. Did I fuck something up? I hope not. So now these are equal points, and the only problem is, nope, he doesn't control the south anymore. So actually there's quite a bit of points that are going to start accumulating towards the Lancasters, in addition to the points they got from winning this big battle. Well, that puts us at the end of the line for the campaign. It's Tides of War time. Time to get those big bonuses. I got a lord in the south area. I dominate the north. Favor in London. I have it. I stole that away, but Calais cancels it out. Most favor in cities, that's no one. Towns and fortresses cancel out. Council member gives me 1. This is not a special turn. We look at the rest. Disembark, victory. One side has no lords on the map. There's a special exemption for that, but I have to look up to make sure I'm remembering this right. Of course. No lords for the next step. Yeah, because Warwick comes in next turn. And this feels a little weird. Like, it feels like this was the conclusive battle, right? Yeah, sorry. You can't do it if one of the important lords, one of the Influence 5 lords, pops off the map. Just, I don't know. And there's nothing special this turn, so we're on a reset. This has been an expensive turn in terms of time on the video. There's no question about that. So I think we're going to load this up. Buckingham is gone. Unfortunately, kind of like my hometown, but even more so, every time I say Buckingham, I can't help but think of Lindsay Buckingham. I don't know why. Just like, it's just this link in my head that's like more than seeing Warwick, or maybe it's because I'm pronouncing it Warwick. No, more than that, I don't think. But it's because there's 2 words and one of them's not there, right? Like, it would be as if I was thinking town of Warwick. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, just a weird little way, like the brain works. It's like it always pops up, and it's like, it's not interesting. Like, to me even, it's just like this mental echo that I cannot prevent. I don't know. It's just weird.